Right, guys, 5 mistakes people, including me, make when they finally get shredded. Number 1 is that they continue to eat too little. Obviously, in order to lose weight, to lean down, we need to be in a calorie deficit, but there comes a time when that is detrimental. When you hit a certain body fat, a certain weight, you've lost enough weight, you need to recalculate your calories. You need to start thinking about maintaining that long term, assuming that is your goal. Now, I've been living at a relatively low body fat for the last 10 to 15 years now, but I haven't always been at the bottom end of that spectrum. It really is a balancing act, eating in a deficit at time and eating at a surplus when the time is right. Obviously, if for example I'm going to be going to the beach and I want to be looking sharp and chiseled so I can take pictures for my Instagram, there will be a period leading up to that where I am obviously dialing it in and I will be in a calorie deficit. However, after that vacation, I will go into a slight surplus for the next 2 to 3 months. I want to keep everything in balance. I don't want to be hungry and starving all the time. And I actually want to, believe it or not, grow a little. I'm not going to be bulking, throwing everything out of the window and focusing sheerly on just eating as much as possible. However, I am not going to be restricting myself as much as I would usually. If you are finally getting to a stage where you are happy with the way you look, you'd like to maintain this look long term, I would think about programming things long term right now. Start recalculating your calories, up them a little bit, and then be prepared to bring them back down. Don't throw it all out of the window. So don't think that you need to keep forcing a calorie deficit all the time because it's just not necessary. Number 2 is that you are training the same way that you trained when you were, let's say, overweight. Now that you are at a lower body fat, you are going to be taking in less calories. Regardless of whether you are in a slight surplus or a slight deficit, you are looking to maintain a lower body fat. You are not going to be eating the same amount of calories as you were when you were overweight before you made that change. I always like to think about it like gasoline in a car. If you've got more gas in the tank, obviously you can drive for much longer. If you're working with less gas one day, you need to be strategic about the way you do things. Maybe take a few shortcuts. No, I'm not talking about enhancements. I'm talking about a more direct approach to your training, a more strategic approach to your training. And the problem with this one, guys, is that it might not be most evident during your workouts themselves. It might be something that creeps up on you later in the day. You might be able to get through a really good workout. If you use up all of your energy resources very early in the morning, for example, later on in the day, because you are continuing to follow a strict nutrition plan, things might catch up with you. You're not going to be fully satisfied, and that is going to run the risk of throwing you off. I've always recommended starting your lean life workouts, if that's what you want to call them, with a strength-based compound exercise before moving on to 2 other exercises of your choice. You're going to want to keep these workouts shorter, not going to be wanting to exert as much energy. 3, guys, now that you can see the abs, you are only focusing on the abs. Now, I've said before, more than the scales, more than any other measurements, the mirror and the way your abs look are the best indicator of how lean you actually are. Maybe not in that initial stage where you're overweight for a few months, and obviously you need to monitor the small changes at that time, but once the abs become visible, once you become used to being lean, that is a great indicator, especially those dick veins down at the bottom. However, what we don't want to do, guys, is focus purely on the abs and ignore everything else. If we are not sufficiently fueling our bodies, fueling our workouts, etc., our bodies might, at this low body fat, start to eat up your own muscle. Keep an eye on everything. Take progress pictures if you need to, or simply check the mirror 10 times a day so you can monitor all of those small changes. All well and good being shredded, and it's all well and good having a 6-pack, but if you've not got the muscle to complement it up here, on your back and on your legs, eventually it loses that wow factor. Number 4, guys, is going to be that you become too obsessed and stressed about weight gain. As I've said, I prefer the visual over the number. The number is a great indicator, especially in the first part of your fitness journey, of how well you are doing. Are you losing constant weight? However, once you get to a lean physique, fluctuations are going to happen, whether it be water weight, whether it be the time of the day you're training, whether it be simply that you had a heavy meal the day before, that you need to have a 2 kilogram poo in the next hour or so. Those things make a difference. What you also need to remember is that whilst it may take a little bit longer to bring that weight down, to burn that weight off, it's not an immediate reversal where 2 days later you're going to be back where you started. There is going to be gradual increase, and surely if you are focusing on your weight, if you are conscious of your weight, you are going to notice those increases. Think of it like climbing a ladder, geezers. You are climbing towards the top of the ladder, the top being that you are shredded. However, this particular ladder, you've got those little hooks around your wrist. You can't just jump off and immediately be back down overweight at the bottom. You are not going to immediately undo all that work in one day, even if the scale suggests that you've put a big dent in that. Because of that, I always recommend experiment with different approaches if your goal is to stay lean long term. Experiment with different diet plans, different training habits. I'm not saying overhaul everything that's got you into good shape in the first place, but leaning down and getting shredded and staying shredded are two very different things. Do some experimentation. Think to yourself, because you know your body best, is this maintainable long term? Is it practical? Can I stick to this? If you feel the answer is yes, go with it for a few weeks. After a few weeks, if you feel like the answer has changed to no, that's okay too. You have to know your own body. Don't worry about the little changes. It's bound to happen. You don't need to be absolute vascular shredded out of your skin at all times. And number 5, guys, and as always, this one is going to get a little bit psychological. You start giving a fuck what other people think. And when I say that, I'm not necessarily referring to the dickheads, the outright dickheads who are just like, you look shit. Because those people exist in every walk of life. There's dickheads everywhere. But I'm talking about those people who are going to try and come at you covertly, like, oh, it's not healthy. Oh, you're damaging your testosterone. If you can still get your dick up, I feel like your testosterone's doing okay. If you can still work out hard, if your strength is still increasing, I think you're doing okay. People follow science to a T so much they use it as an excuse for their own shortcomings. Now, if you find that things are working for you, and I'll be honest, there's been periods where I found that things weren't working for me and I had to make changes. That is the whole point of experimentation, right? But if you find that something is working for you, if you feel good, if your quality of life is optimal, then why the fuck would you listen to some random person who doesn't even know you, or some person who's sticking their nose in your business uninvited? Not everyone has the ability to get lean, and I don't mean genetically, like they physically can't do it. It's impossible. But mentally, they're not strong enough to do what it takes. They're in their comfort zone too much. And maybe their comfort zone is fine. There's that section of society, there's the 10s, there's the 9s, and then maybe there's the people who are happy to sit in the 7s or 8s, and that's absolutely fine. They're still in good condition. Certain people push their insecurities. Why can't I be a 9 or a 10? I'm going to push it onto this person who, in my eyes, is a 9 or 10. And I'm not saying being shredded makes you a 9 or a 10. I don't care. I don't care if I look around the gym and someone's shredded, if they're overweight, if they're working hard towards their goals and they're focused primarily on themselves, good for them. Me, my goal to be lean, your goal to be lean, if you're watching this video, you've got to stay in your lane. You've got to realize the limitations of this lifestyle. And you've also got to realize that even if you are limiting yourself in some way, you're still way ahead of so many other people. What I'm saying, geezers, is if you want to go out and get shredded, go get fucking shredded. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't let anyone put you off. Do what you want to do. Try it once. If you like it, use those other tips that I've just given you to try and find a way of maintaining it long term. If you don't like it and it's not for you, that's cool. Go back to something that you feel more comfortable at. At the end of the day, who gives a shit about other people? Except for the dickheads who seem to give a shit about other people. As always, hope this one's been helpful, geezers. Like, comment, subscribe, etc. for the algorithm. And until the next one, bye-bye.